Welcome to Socrates Beyond Time, a place where I share stories inspired by the thought-provoking spirit of the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates through slow, deep, and contemplative dialogues. In the series Socrates and the Masters of Persuasion, Socrates journeys across time to meet influential figures throughout history, engaging them in conversations that explore the true nature of persuasion, not merely as a technique, but as a way human beings connect with one another. Though these encounters are fictional, the spirit of Socrates and the insights revealed in each dialogue carry a timeless value, inviting us to reflect on how we think, speak, and influence others. If you'd like to explore this journey more deeply, you're warmly invited to visit socratesbeyondtime.blogspot.com, where these reflections continue, quietly yet meaningfully. There are encounters that do not unfold in the quiet of philosophy, but amid the noise of power and human fate. When Socrates steps into the world of Cicero, words are no longer tools for understanding, but forces that can determine who stands and who falls, who is heard and who disappears. One asks questions to protect the truth. One uses words to preserve order. Between them lies not only a difference in circumstance, but an unavoidable tension. When truth must pass through power in order to exist, does it remain truth, or merely a version safe enough to be accepted? 63 BC. Rome. The Roman Republic stood at the height of its power, yet also at the edge of instability. Political conspiracies moved through marble corridors. Alliances were signed at night and betrayed the next morning. The law existed, but power decided who was allowed to interpret it. In Rome, war did not take place only on battlefields. It took place in the Senate. There, the weapon was not the sword, it was speech. Marcus Tullius Cicero had not been born into an ancient noble family. He had no lineage of power protecting him. What he possessed was a sharp intellect and a voice that could silence an entire chamber. He believed the republic could be saved by argument, that the law should be defended not only by soldiers, but by reason. But reason in politics never stands alone. That morning, the sky above Rome was heavy and gray. Inside the Senate chamber, the cold marble steps reflected dim light. The air was tense like a drawn bowstring. Cicero rose. He was not merely speaking to persuade, he was speaking to determine the fate of a man, and perhaps the fate of the republic itself. Every sentence was chosen like an arrow, every pause weighed like a strategy. Below him, the senators were silent, not because they agreed. They were silent because they understood. These words could cause bloodshed or prevent it. And when words carry that kind of power, they are no longer merely persuasion. They become power. At the far end of the hall, between tall columns and long shadows, a man stood watching. He did not belong to Rome. He did not belong to politics, yet he understood the price of words spoken before power.
You do not belong here. Perhaps. But wherever words decide the fate of men, I wish to stand there.
Cicero smiled faintly.
Then you will see that words here are not like philosophy. I am beginning to realize that. In Athens, people argue to understand. Here, people speak to win.
No. Here, people speak to survive.
Socrates looked toward the cold marble steps.
And to make others not survive?
Cicero did not answer immediately. He adjusted his toga, as if adjusting himself.
Rome is not an academy. A weak sentence can spill more blood than a skillful one.
Socrates nodded.
Then what do you consider persuasion to be? A tool of order. Without rhetoric, law is only dead letters. Without strong speech, the crowd will be led by someone worse. You are saying persuasion may be the lesser evil among many evils?
Yes, and sometimes the only thing that prevents Rome from falling into chaos.
Socrates fell silent for a long time.
But tell me this, Cicero. When you stand before that crowd, do you say what you believe or what they are ready to accept?
Cicero looked directly at Socrates. His gaze did not turn away.
I say what can pass through. Truth that is never heard cannot save anyone.
So truth must wear the clothing of power in order to be allowed to exist?
Cicero exhaled.
You ask as if there were another choice.
Socrates stepped further into the hall.
I only ask this. Each time you bend the truth to fit power, does your soul still keep its original shape?
Cicero paused, only for a very brief moment.
If I do not bend it, someone else will break it.
And if everyone thinks that way, in the end there will be no truth left straight enough to stand.
Voices rose from the corridor outside. The Senate was about to convene again.
Socrates, you live in a world of questions. I live in a world of consequences.
Socrates nodded.
And precisely for that reason, your world needs questions more than ever.
Cicero looked at Socrates for a long moment. Then he turned and walked back toward the podium. Cicero's voice echoed again through the chamber. Not harsher than before, but something had slowed. He chose his words more carefully, not only to win, but to avoid crossing an invisible line. Socrates stood quietly at the end of the hall, and he understood something new. Persuasion, when bound to power, always stands before the temptation to bend truth for a noble purpose. Yet precisely in that most dangerous place, the ethics of speech must be held the tightest. Cicero was not a cheap manipulator. He was a mind caught between ideals and reality. He showed humanity an uncomfortable truth. When speech enters politics, it is no longer the search for truth, but a negotiation with power. From that shadowed Senate of Rome, a lesson still echoes today. Not every effective speech is a true one, and not every true speech is strong enough to survive within power. But each time a person speaks what they no longer believe in exchange for influence, even if the republic still stands, a part of the soul has already collapsed. And that is the silent price of persuasion when it wears the robe of power.